Hi, everybody. I told you I'd keep you up to date on the news and things that are going on and give you some resources on where to find out about it. This week, the NIH got a new director. The National Institutes of Health will now be headed by Bhattacharya. There's been lots of things talked about this last month about the NIH and funding and resources and how they're being allocated. And so I just wanted to kind of give you an update, kind of spread through the noise about that. I also like to recommend to you podcasts that you might be able to read or hear more about those kind of topics. And this week, Jay Bhattacharya was interviewed by Barry Weiss on the Honestly podcast, and I highly recommend it if you want to understand him better. The thing that's really important that's been discussed is the changes in the way that we fund NIH research. And as Dr. Bhattacharya discusses in his interview with Barry Weiss, the actual budget for the NIH is unchanged. That's determined by the congressional appropriations into that department. But they are changing where we focus our research and how we use our dollars. One of the most controversial things has been the discussion of administrative costs at the university levels. And they used to be as high as 60% of all the research grants went to administrators and buildings and things within a campus. And then, of course, only 40% would have gone to the researchers and the actual data that's being collected on whatever topic it is. There's been a lot of controversy around that because the researchers actually don't get that much money, and the taxpayers are paying a lot of overhead. They've been proposing a drop all the way down to 15%, which is quite a culture shock. It's kind of like saying we'd like you to have solar panels on your house, and by the way, we're cutting the electricity to your house, figure it out. And so it's a little bit too abrupt, and my anticipation, because I've heard a lot less about the 15% number coming out of Washington these days, my anticipation is, like for instance here in Ohio State is clearly funded a lot by NIH dollars. You can see that visibly in the buildings that do research around campus. A lot of our other campuses, whether it was Ohio University, University of Cincinnati, they also get, and Cleveland get a lot of NIH dollars. I can imagine the phone calls of our senators have been very loud, demanding that this not affect our campuses and the money and revenue that comes out of the federal government into them. I suspect, like a lot of things, there'll be some negotiations on this and that we'll see some end that is somewhere in the middle. But the purpose of decreasing administrative costs is actually to make sure that your taxpayer dollars are going to research things that matter in your life. And that is the other thing that Dr. Bhattacharya talked about in his interview with Barry Weiss. And I think it's a really important topic for us to discuss for those of us that care about wellness in our country. NIH has been spending a lot of money, and you're right, they come into all sorts of breakthroughs, but oftentimes those breakthroughs are associated with things that can be patented, and drugs, which then you as the taxpayer also have to pay for, sometimes to the tune of $30,000 or $40,000 a year for a drug that we paid to research. So you really have to wonder, are those dollars being used to prevent illness, and are those dollars being used to reduce our costs of healthcare? And it doesn't seem to be the case with our quality of life and our indicators for lifespan stagnating or even getting worse. So what we're trying to do when we talk about wellness for our country is actually elevate our quality of life and our standard of living and our health of our citizens. And so the goal of the new NIH guidelines is to say, are we researching topics about wellness? Are we using those dollars to look at the general health of the population? And so as we listen to the commentary about the way they would like to reallocate those NIH dollars, that is going to be the new emphasis. I don't know whether that's going to work. It's hard to know. Our healthcare system is difficult. Wellness has a lot of variables to it when it comes to food and messaging and whether citizens will listen to advice that they're given. But I think you'll see if you listen to Dr. Bhattacharya in the interview that he is thoughtful and purposeful in what he's intending to do. There's other issues that are coming on, and I'll only comment on those briefly. Some of the issues changing around at the CDC are related to what is our priorities and do those priorities overlap with other agencies. Again, the budget has not been changed, just maybe the focus of those things. There's discussions around vaccines in the ACIP meeting, which is very interesting to watch, and I will be watching it carefully to see where it goes. I have no idea where that's going to end up, and I'm waiting to see. So I don't have anything to report other than it seems to be on pause for right now. So we have some vaccines actually that are awaiting approval that haven't even gotten through the ACIP yet. You can imagine their manufacturers are pushing for that committee to get back onto board so that they can get their products out to the market. So that's my update for today. I hope you enjoy the interview with Dr. Bhattacharya. I find him thoughtful. and well-spoken, and definitely looking out for the interest of Americans. So I hope you enjoy listening to him as much as I did. Thanks.